Without parole to potential freedom, the future could look very different for two members of the Cash Feenz gang involved in a brutal murder. Tomorrow morning, a Lee County judge is scheduled to resentence Ashley Toy and Roderick Washington in the murder of Alex and Jeffrey Sosa. Both were 17 when they were sentenced to life in prison without parole, and now a Supreme Court ruled that sentences like that are too harsh for juveniles. 4 in Your Corner's Tara Molina live in the studio tonight with more on this case that's captivated Southwest Florida. Tara.
The brutal murders of two young men landed Roderick Washington and Ashley Toy, both underage at the time, lifetime sentences. But Amy, according to the attorney I talked to this afternoon, the resentencing hearing means both of them will have a chance to get out of prison someday.
I'm not a menace to society. I'm not a monster like everybody says. I am. I made a mistake.
Back in 2012, Ashley Toy told Fox 4 in a jailhouse interview she deserves a second chance. Now, she's getting it.
General thought or public policy is if they're that young, they ought to at least have a second chance.
A recent Florida Supreme Court ruling allows inmates serving life sentences for crimes they committed as juveniles a resentencing. Attorney Mike Giannopoulos tells me that usually means a shorter sentence.
There's going to be a roadmap set and some objective performance criteria set where if they do certain things, they could possibly be released and not actually serve a life sentence.
Roderick Washington and Ashley Toy were both sentenced to life in prison after the gruesome murders of Alex and Jeffrey Sosa. Teens at the time, they took part in the torture of the Sosa boys. Initials were carved into Alex's back. Bleach poured on his wounds at a house party in Cape Coral. And before the night was over, the Sosas were shot to death, their bodies thrown into a car and set on fire.
So before this resentencing applied, they were sentenced to life.
They were never getting out of prison, ever.
And now they've got a shot.
And probably a pretty good one. And if I was the victim's family, I think the victim's family is probably going to be displeased about that, and I completely understand why.
When we spoke with the victim's family, Linda and Alfredo Sosa, back in 2012, they said the pain of losing Alex and Jeffrey would never go away, and they hoped their family's killers would never walk free.
She deserves to be exactly where she's at.
And never get out.
And never get out.
But now, Giannopoulos tells me while the gruesome details of that night will never change, the fate of Toy and Washington could.
They can't be in the same spot they were before.
Of the 10 people involved in the murder, Toy and Washington are the only two eligible for resentencing because they were the only ones who were under 18 at the time. Their hearing is tomorrow morning. We'll be there and we'll let you know what happens. Live in the studio, Tara Molina, Fox 4 in Your Corner.
All right, thank you, Tara.